Hi, I'm Matthew Ritchie. This is A Bridge, a Gate, an Ocean. So, A Bridge, a Gate, an Ocean is a work that here is kind of installed in three parts. There's the painting and the wall drawing and an essay in the book. And each of them speak to different aspects of how we approach the idea of chaos, especially through painting. And the painting itself is a bridge, a gate, and an ocean. And in that way, that a bridge is something that's very constructed, very known. You find your way safely across on a bridge. A gate is something that is kind of a doorway to the unknown that can be closed and opened. And a painting is like an ocean of possibilities. And I think one of the things that painting can do is talk about this idea of structure in a different way than, say, science does. So the installation here is almost like a hierarchy of meanings. On the back are these paler gray markings, which are a history of humans' investigation into the structure of nature. On top of that are these larger, very black supergraphics, which are two specific kinds of diagram that I've sort of redrawn. One is a diagram of Eratosthenes' first measurement of the moon through geometry, through the application of pure human thought to the vastness of the infinite. And then on the other end of the installation is something called catastrophe theory, which was a theory developed in the 1960s about when knowledge itself and human experience collapses into chaos. And then on top of those two layers is a third layer, the painting, which is really the kind of ocean of meanings. And the painting in its center is sort of collapsing in on itself. In what you probably won't see is that this is taken from the film that's playing alongside it. So it's a kind of abstract but space that actually tells a story. And on top of that is a very big blue gesture, which is my version of Einstein's theory of relativity. It's taken from his first published book on that. And then on top of that are a series of small calligraphic marks, which are me reflecting again in my own particular way on the very first petroglyphs we have of people drawing the universe in a cave wall. So it's layers of history, layers of time, and each one of these layers is an investigation both of the vastness of the universe and of the human desire to make meaning from that, which is in a way kind of this fundamental drive, I think, towards gesture. But a gesture in space and time is kind of one thing, like a gesture, a dancer might make. A painting is a gesture in space and time that's sort of sealed into its moment. So the painting surface becomes this kind of way of sustaining that gesture over centuries or thousands of years. So this idea of the kind of the triple nature of painting as a bridge, a gate, and an ocean is something that I talk about more in my essay as something fundamental to the relationship of chaos and awe, which are two ideas that really come out of each other in the very earliest writings. The very earliest stories of the universe talk about chaos as the fundamental, almost the primary cause. Like, what is before the Big Bang? What is before the universe begins? We don't know. We still don't know. And we're always reaching backwards to try and see what that moment might be, both with very contemporary scientific machines and with our kind of inner emotions. We want to know where we came from. But we need a language for that. Otherwise it just becomes this formless void. And there's a temptation to easily step back and say, well, that's too hard. Then let's just fall into the kind of role that was in, say, the 18th century, where they categorized that as initially awful, the word awe, filled with awe. And then we sort of separate them out into awe and awful. But really there's a kind of shared root of almost like a fear of that moment, but also an inescapable attraction to it. And painting seems to me to be a kind of way where you can have both at the same time. You can be on this surface of it's like walking across a lake covered in ice. And you're sort of aware of the vastness underneath you, but it's also something very beautiful about knowing you're skating across this surface.